Welcome to Life's a Coach. Our mission is to empower individuals like you to take charge of your life, discover your purpose, and elevate your performance to new heights. Each week, we'll be diving into engaging discussions, introducing you to valuable tools from the coaching world, and giving you different perspectives on individual development. Whether you're seeking clarity, motivation, or a fresh perspective, we've got you covered. Again, welcome to Life's a Coach, where the power to transform your life begins now.
Right. Action. Welcome to Life's a Coach. And today we got a full panel. We got all our coaches in today, Power One. We got Almar, Sofia, Eric, Jean, and myself, Avril Yosfat. Thank you for joining us. And how you guys doing today?
Good morning.
Yeah,
Good
good
morning.
Good afternoon.
It's like one of
European.
those mornings we should just all have our coffee mugs here, just like, okay.
So
Right.
what I was trying to say, because I was trying to talk, I was trying to tell you guys as I was going to make my coffee, that you guys said, did you just wake up? Did you know that drinking coffee, like as soon as you wake up, is not a good thing? Well,
So they
has no
say
effect, right?
the cortisol
Obviously.
levels, right?
And the adenosine, I think it's the adenosine as well. Like that enzyme that makes you, or that system that makes you feel tired or doesn't make you feel tired, is actually not on for the first 2 hours when we wake up. So it doesn't actually have any effect. What obviously the effect I believe that caffeine has on our brain is it just blocks the feeling of feeling tired, but 2 hours after we wake up, that is not actually active. So found that out on the Huberman Lab podcast.
So what does that mean then? So it means if you want to stay
effects of
awake
caffeine?
from coffee, say use the coffee as a alert tool, then you should wait 2 hours versus
Yes,
the
after you wake up.
pleasure of
Yes.
waking up and having
Well,
a cup
that's it,
of
exactly.
coffee.
Yeah, exactly. So it is that pleasure as well, because obviously it's very, it's a traditional thing to do. It's part of the routine, right? That feeling, also the taste. A lot of coffee lovers. It could possibly have a placebo effect on how you feel, but according to science, it's not. It's telling us that it's not going to have an effect on the actual, on our, whatever
Energy
caffeine does,
level.
right? Which is the stimulation,
Energy.
yeah, mentally, yeah. So
All I got to say to
Interesting.
that is trust Eric to start us off with some science, statistics, and facts.
that's what I was trying to tell you. You guys are like, can't hear you, and I was like, well, actually, I've already pushed past because I wouldn't be drinking coffee, so I was trying to say it, but these guys are like, Eric, we can't hear you, because I walked away from my computer. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. What about you guys? How's it been going?
Jean
I'm
is drinking
excited.
the tea.
Jeans,
He's drinking the tea.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tea.
I
Is it?
flush out in the mornings. Like I'm drinking like liters in the morning just as soon as you wake up because I know my body's been, like cleansing all night. So then I just flush and I do all the, excretions. So hopefully get that out and going. That's my
How
early.
much do you drink in the morning?
At least 1.5 liters, at least.
A
Yeah, if I can
liter
wait.
and a half?
Yeah, I'm like,
Is that water or tea?
it's a combination. If I'm super hungry, I'll do bone broth. Otherwise, this is just tea, right? This is just turmeric and some Korean green. Or just lemon and honey if I'm, feeling particularly, vulnerable and I just need something comforting. And then I know these don't really count because this is more like smoothies, but there's mostly water in there. It's frozen fruits and water and lemon juice. That's it. So
Wow.
I feel like it's kind
That's a beautiful health
Yeah.
tonic. That's a really, I think, ideal way to start the day. My
Right?
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But
What
it
did
takes
you
discipline.
What did you say that you had inside your smoothie, Jean?
It's like a whole bunch of different fruits. So I'm like pineapple, mangoes, strawberries, raspberries, cherries, right? And then just water and then lemon juice.
Mm,
So
Yes.
it's,
nice.
there's enough sugar in it And I know I should probably be adding all the other crap, right? All the protein and like creatine, but I just, in the morning, no.
Well, proof is in
flush.
the pudding, and you always are glowing. Your hair always looks great. You look fabulous. So, anybody listening, I think you're looking for the way. I think Jean's got it down.
She's our resident health and fitness
Yeah.
guru.
Definitely,
If you're gonna give me
definitely.
the spotlight, if you're gonna give me that spotlight, then I have to also say like, don't forget to breathe and to meditate and to go work out and to be happy.
Totally.
Like, right?
I don't know.
Totally.
I don't know how we do this, but the topic for today is around also self-care habits. So we are already putting into
Oh,
the
wow.
song.
I
So
love that. I'm actually super interested because Jean just mentioned breath work, and lately all the signs in my life have been pointing to breath work. And you'd think that I would have been on that some time ago, but I have not. But it is becoming so, well, at least it's always been important, but at least really taken the spotlight these days. And so I'm really curious to hear what Jean's breath work is like, because I think that's really new for most people.
Yeah, isn't it? Funny enough, Eric, you mentioned the Huberman Lab podcast, and I just recently posted on my story him speaking about this particular type of breathing, which is a inhale through the nostrils, one long, one short, and exhale through the mouth. So it sounds like this. It's right. It's like one long, up, out, and apparently it does so much goodness, but so many different levels, and to do that even once when you're feeling very particularly stressed or triggered, it's actually enough to reset your brain. So just hearing him say that, it's that powerful. Like your breath work, your intentional breath work, it's that powerful. Tony Robbins is another person who always talks about his breath work routine in the morning and even before all of his like events. And he gets everybody to pull down with your arms, right? And you're like focusing on the exhale, and you do that 30 times, right? So it's like, again, it's a drawing in breath, but then understanding that there's this connection between your body and your breath and your mind. So yeah, so I do all kinds of things, just long extended. Ujjayi breathing is the biggest one that we do in the yogic community, right? It's kind of like constricting the back of your throat so that you don't audibly make a noise like ah and right? But you're making like wave like sounds.
What's that called? Jean?
Ujjayi
Ujjayi.
breathing. Yeah.
Okay.
I can print it. I can type
The
it up.
guy on my
later for you.
yoga video actually talks about that. I didn't know what he was talking about, so thanks for explaining. But yeah, exactly. So what is the thought process like physically behind that?
Well, I mean, it also teaches you how to play with your breath, right? But you are actually fully like filling up your lungs, because when you have to breathe inward, constricting the back of your throat, and you're making the sound, it actually allows you to carry in that breath, right? So that I could breathe in for like 20 seconds, like breathing in slow, like filling up the lungs to maximum capacity. You hold it at the top, and then you can tighten the core, and then you breathe out. And I can probably breathe out for like a minute and a half. Like you could actually hold it that long, and you're like, it's a slow release breath. So it's just training. It's a training for your lungs, right? And with that comes
That sounds like Wim Hof a little bit.
He
Wim
does
Hof,
that too.
So I've tried Wim Hof. In basically I've had challenges over the last 3-4 weeks, but
Yes.
I started about a month ago, and it was really difficult at the start. Obviously, it's like deep breaths through the belly. It's like belly breathing through the chest and through the belly. There's about 30 of those breaths, and then it's a breath hold for a minute. And then you extend that to like a minute and a half, and then you extend that to 2 minutes each round going. And I mean, one of the things is I think it leads to mindfulness, because I need to be in the moment and focus in on what I'm doing. But just the physical benefits, as you're saying. Again, Jay talks about a lot, right? Is the breath is the one thing that is, it connects our mind and our body, right? So obviously when our mind's somewhere else, where our body isn't, it's a way to reconnect back to the moment. And you know how difficult I struggle with like that mindfulness part. So that's a good reminder, for sure.
You're also combining your left and right brains, right? Because you're also working with something like both your sympathetic and your parasympathetic functions. So that's why the breath is so incredibly grounding, and then also so incredibly engaging, right? Your full attention is on it.
Wow, that's great. Anyone else have anything about breathing or anything for self-care?
We hope
you guys
we
do?
have. We are just getting started, so we hope we have.
Go on, Sophia. Go on, Sophia. dot.
I just want to add that 20 years
spending
ago,
time
all of
with
this.
loved ones. Sorry.
Oh, what is
And-
that?
I just when I take this is my little guy. Like when he was like,
That is dark.
I don't even know. That was maybe 1, but yeah, that's me and him. So yeah, well, just reminders of your loved ones, right? And spending time with people that mean the most.
That's wellness right there.
Right?
Yeah.
True.
Mine is a mermaid. I don't know what that says about me.
Like, oh, I love mermaids.
Right?
That is
Ooh, that's really
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
So symbolic. Do you see it? Yeah. Anyways, go ahead, Almar. I interrupted.
No. Now you just like, now I'm thinking about one of my favorite things to do is pretend I'm a mermaid when I'm in the ocean. But that's okay.
Don't we all?
Love that. Love that.
But,
Not breathing, right?
And then the breathing. Yeah, I could talk about the breathing thing too, but oh my gosh, I'm torn in 2 places. No, but I just wanted to say that 20 years ago, none of this stuff, nobody was talking about any of this stuff, and it doesn't mean it wasn't important back then. So I love that more and more people are open to not just breathing, of course, learning how to breathe, but mindfulness and meditation and this movement really, which also really encompasses our world as coaches as well. So it's really fascinating, and it's happening so fast. Just stop and think about that for a moment, and how the narrative has changed and continues to change.
Yeah, I've seen a huge I mean, the talk of just being healthy, eating right, and staying active and staying. For me, I feel like in the past 2 decades, I've seen a lot more of it than before. You know, like the being health conscious and the tools that are coming up with staying healthy and taking care of ourselves. In fact, even initially, I remember like a decade ago when it was mainly a lot of it, at least what came to my ears and what I saw was a lot about taking care of the body. But I'm seeing like also in this past like 5 to 7 years of 10 years as well, there's been also recently wellness in regards to spirit, body, and mind. Like therapy has become a big thing. Coaching is becoming a big thing too. The need of it, whereas maybe 2-3 decades ago, at least in the culture and places I came from, especially for men too, like it wasn't even a thing. Men don't go to therapy. You don't need therapy. That wellness side of the mind too has become a huge thing over the past years. That's kind of something that I observed. I don't know how has it been for you guys?
No, it's true. I bet you even the most open-minded people 10 years ago who worked in companies would never even consider, stress as an issue or mindfulness for their employees. And, it's just something that wasn't thought of or worked on. But, I think one of the trending top searches now is aging healthfully.
But it's interesting that you are mentioning that. I'm just going to tell you a story. So I think I got the contact with mindfulness, or in that moment was meditation, but Buddhist meditation first here in Portugal. So we are in 2024 now, I would say like 15 years ago. And I was doing my degree, and I had how do you say it? One of the projects that I had to do for a specific subject was training. So I needed to deliver a training to my colleagues. It was the final project of that subject. And what I did was meditation techniques, training on that, like 15 years ago.
Wow.
And my teacher at that time said, this is not something to train people. It was in her mind. All of my colleagues did things around organizations or things that you could train in organizations. So in her mind, meditation techniques wouldn't be a topic to go to organizations and train people to. And in that time, I didn't felt like I did nothing wrong, but in a way, I thought that she was right, because I wasn't seeing that commonly. It wasn't common. But 15 years after now, what we see more is these kinds of practices going into organizations. We are having meditations in the workplaces. We are having a lot of people going into these kind of practices. So back to your point, Almar, I really see a very big improvement in this area. And for my experience specifically, I experienced that 15 years ago, this was not an option. So it's very interesting to see, and how fast, but also how widely this is grown, is not only in our personal lives, but in companies and in society in general.
Absolutely.
So bringing this close to home, Sophia asked a question earlier on, like, what are our, self-care habits, individually, like, where are we at? You know what? Let's start with Eric. You're the.
Really?
You're the one who started this. You are the one who started
I mean,
with the coffee.
Considering what kind of coach you are, let's start with you. I'm sure you have to have some self-care habits.
I hope so. Well, I think, again, just personally for myself, right? Again, I think one big thing is, as coaches, as life coaches, you need to practice what you preach, first of all, right? So we would be hypocrites if we didn't practice the areas that we are perhaps asking our clients to potentially bring into their lives, right? So definitely for myself, I try to have an AM routine and a PM routine. That's very much like kind of within the sports world and things like that. So when I wake up, I'll try to wake up, and now I've started actually going outside, because I heard on another podcast, it was actually somebody called Gary Brecker. Don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's big into health and things like that. But basically, the idea of grounding early on when you go and going outside, right? So first of all, your actual feet touching the real ground can be very very helpful to a calming kind of presence and getting you back on the right frequency, as well as seeing the sunlight, right? So luckily, a couple of us are in Florida, some of us have varying sunlights. I know when I was in England, it was not very sunny, right? So going outside and early on, maybe within the first 15-20 minutes of you waking up, seeing sunlight is very helpful to waking up and getting your your, can't remember what system, but your circadian rhythm, I guess, back up and running, right? And then I'll basically do that Wim Hof breath work early on when I wake up, right? So I'll do that. And again, and I'll switch between different things, man. I went for a period when I was doing just meditation, right? Trying to meditate for and not for a long time, 11 to 15 minutes or something like that. And then, now I'm doing Wim Hof, and then Other times, if I have a little bit more time, I'll actually try and get a little bit of yoga in, right? So if I'm feeling a bit tight, I've been playing or I've been training a lot that week, I'll maybe do that. So it really depends. But I think even just the gift of giving yourself 30 to 45 minutes. And, some people can't take an hour and a half before their day starts because their kids are waking up, right? But giving that gift to yourself before is really a telltale sign to yourself that you mean something, you matter. And I always tell my clients, right, you can't pour from a cup that's not full, right? So taking care of yourself, I think, is very, very important. And then PM, just on the flip side, this thing drives me nuts, and I know that it's my kryptonite, especially at night when people are maybe texting me or I'm trying to get some things done which I probably shouldn't. So having a technology blackout, right, 90 minutes before sleep, again, and I'm not perfect at that, but I definitely always tell my athletes that I coach that is really, really important, because now kind of just calm your mind. The blue light's no good. And then I'll kind of flip the script. So I journal in the morning, I'll journal in the evening, just on my phone. It's just like real simple notes. And then usually I put my little man to sleep and I'll do a little meditation before I go to sleep. And usually I listen to like white noise as I go to sleep, or some kind of like rain sound. So I guess AM PM routine would be an example of self-care, how to like wind up and wind down during the day. I'd be interested to see if you guys have anything like, because I'm a little bit weird like that. I'm maybe a little bit like I wouldn't say I'm religious, like, with it, but I know how much it can affect me if, for example, I don't do it. So
I'm in awe.
There's no weird. There's no weird in coaching world, all right?
Definitely.
I'm sure you guys have some quirky ones too. So be vulnerable and tell me, what is the one? That's a good question. What is your one habit that you feel is quite unique to you that not a lot of people would, or that you just don't hear every day?
Flatulent release early in the morning.
Okay, yeah. I think that's important. That is important. Yeah. You need that flatulence out. Where do you do that? In bed, outside? You go outside for that, or just straight to the bathroom?
Some poses, you know what I'm saying? Like, yes.
A good stretch for sure.
That's not one of mine yet, but yes. For me, it's you know me. Sometimes my comedic mind just has to say something.
We appreciate that, Avril.
Yeah.
Typically, like I wake up at like it has been varying lately with all this change in time zones going between Georgia and California. But typically, I'm up 6:30, between 5:30 and 6:30. My body clock just kicks in, and I'm up, and I have to. And I've noticed it recently. I don't know who told me this, and I don't think there's a scientific or anything behind it, but like when I get out of bed and I put both feet on the ground, I like, as if I'm jumping, like I land intentionally with both feet. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the day, kind of thing.
Wow.
I don't know, but it works for me in my nervous system. Then I typically go for a walk for about an hour or so, depending whether I'm feeling like taking the dog or not. But that's also sort of like my quiet time, and it's time to. I've noticed that meditation for me, I've tried different meditations, and for me, it's not something I can do consistently. But I have different things that ground me. So, like what you're saying, being in nature too, for me is one of those things. So when I go for a walk, that's one of the things. Sometimes, if it's not a cold morning, I take my flip flops on and have moments where I get them off and walk on the grass, kind of thing. So an hour every morning for me, it's not just I'm taking a walk, but it's also that's where I just get to like be with my thoughts and just process, reflecting the day before, and also just like getting into what I want to do for that day. And I typically know if I haven't, anytime I wake up later than 6:30, somehow it's weird. I feel like I know it's gonna be one of those groggy days. Like, today's gonna be one of those days, you know. But typically, if I do that, get up, go for my walk, spend about an hour there, then come back, I'm already ready to get on with the day. And as I was sharing with Alma before we came on, that I've also started going to the gym 3 times a week. So that also I either incorporate it first thing in the morning, like after my walk, I come back, then go to the gym, or at the end of the day as well, do that. And that's also like how I've been keeping myself physically taking care of my body. That's gonna be what's I've been onto. And I gotta say, I'm also proud of myself. I shared this with Alma, but I wanna share with you guys. I think Jean was aware, but I haven't told you my results. So in January or February, I started this 6 weeks challenge, right? And actually, funny enough, Jean and Alma actually helped me in terms of like talking about my diet and how to eat well and all that. So I've lost 13 pounds. Is it 13? Yeah, 13 pounds. And I've also kind of maintained it for the past 2 months. So just between like,
where's that audience? Where's that audience clap, buddy? Give
Give
yourself an audience clap. Give yourself an audience clap. We'll do it. We'll do it. Ready? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Congrats.
Love it. That's
wow.
Great. Yeah.
Success.
All those little things, I'm kind of proud of myself.
Should be.
I am.
That's
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah. So that's been what I've been doing. I'm like really, and it's interesting how I know Eric once mentioned this in one of the podcasts we did about intentionally eating or eating with intention. I've really been at a place where I've realized that even eating, when I'm eating, like if I get a portion in my plate, I'm being intentional. Like, okay, I don't need as much in my plate, or okay, I've eaten half of this, and at this point, I'm just eating for the sake of eating, not because I still need food in my system. So I've been more aware of that, So that's also stuff that I've noticed. Like, okay, my portions, I've been doing portion control, just like what I need, not just that thing like that. And having that and some exercise 3 times a week, in the gym has really been kind of like what's been my self-care, physically, mentally.
Fantastic.
Like I said, and for me as well, one of my morning routines too is music. I need to either have music, dance around in the shower. As I'm getting ready, I need some high vibe music going on. Or
For
occasionally,
that flatulence release.
Right. And occasionally I like, because I don't have an exact, like a consistent morning routine, but I do have a routine in which it's just got a lot of different flavors in it, right? But I am intentional. Like each morning I wake up like, okay, today, where am I? What am I feeling? What do I need? So I'm intentional about what it is. So I have mornings where I just listen to stand-up comedy, and it gets me laughing. It gets those endorphins going. Like, okay, cool, right? Before I start think of anything the day has to bring, I just listen to that too. Yeah.
It's very interesting what you're saying, Avril, because it matches with my thoughts on what Eric just shared also.
Mhm.
It's not that we need exactly to have the same daily routine. It's more about listening to your body and understanding what is the body needing at that moment. At least I also regulate myself a lot with that, because as you were saying, sometimes you will need a lot of energy music and your day is going to be full of this and that. So, and music will help you. Other days, maybe a silent walk in the nature will be more beneficial for you, considering what you are expecting to have.
Yeah.
But one of the things with self-care habits, and I have a lot, some of them Eric already mentioned, others you mentioned it, but on how they can impact if you are in a way don't allow yourself to have one of those in a day that you really need it. I'm just going to share a story really quickly. Last week I had a problem in my back, so I got all this zone on my back compressed, and I went to the doctor, and in gym I do a class here that is called body pump. So it's a lot of lifting weights with music and everything. I love that. It's like I love that class. I do it 2 times a week.
It's the same body pump I did. That is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
I don't know.
Very low weights. It's like low weights, and you're just doing it like for the same time, like literally. Yeah. And me, the macho, probably in my late 20s, like went into this class thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be easy. And like literally 1 minute into like a shoulder press like that, like literally like no weight at all, and like I felt as if my arms were gonna fall off. I'm not even joking. So kudos to you. That's like literally the hardest class I've ever done.
Thank you. But I really because I don't like to go to the how do you say it? To the gym to do just weighting lifts and lifting weights. Oh my God, what did I say? But I like the thing of combining this with a class where I have another people there and also the music. And the doctor said, so no more of that to you. And my heart broke. But I'm being honest with you. I was so sad. So sad because of that. Because first, it gets my mind I do it 7 a.m. in the morning. So it gets my mind in the right spot to get my day going. I do it 2 times a week because it has an effect on my body also. So I see it genuinely as a self-care. So what I did is that I talked to other doctors. Because in my mind, I didn't want that decision to be made through other person and not through me. And the other doctor said, if I control the weights that I lift, if I control listening to my body while I'm doing the exercise and understanding if this is doing me bad or not, then I would take the decision for myself. So long story short, on self-care and on daily habits, listen to the body. I think it's the most important thing that you need to do, because journaling is going to work for some people and then drastically doesn't work to other people. So breathwork will work with Eric, and probably for Avril you will need like very loud music and other things to get your day going. So I see it like this. Almar, Jean, I would love to hear from you also.
Please, Jean. I'm just enjoying this. I think it's wonderful that you made a very good point that we have to build a relationship with our body. It has all the answers and it tells us just what we need. We just have to listen.
True.
Yeah. Jean, what do you think?
No, thank you everyone for sharing your morning routines, and then also Sofia, your point about listening to your body, it's so crucial. For me, self-care, I look at self-care like in seasons, because what you need, not on a daily or a weekly basis, but in your stage of life basis, right? So I think, for example, when I was very busy raising a family or like going out for work, maybe like a self-care element in the morning was not possible. So I found myself when I went away to a retreat, or if I was out of my house and I slept over at a girlfriend's house, the next morning, my body just wanted to move. Like it just wanted to dance, actually. But then now at the stage of life where I do have my own bedroom and pretty much my own schedule, I'm able to now do that first thing in the morning, right? I get up, with or without music, I'm dancing, like pretty much without clothes on, because you want to see and celebrate your body, right? And then only when I'm ready to like go out, whether I go to the gym or go outside for a walk, then I'll put on, the uniform, right? It's a walking uniform or a gym uniform. And that, then I think it's also important as another element of self-care is to prepare for your self-care, whatever it is that you're doing, so that I don't get distracted while I'm trying to, look in my closet for clothes that I need. And so I plan it, I suppose that's what I'm trying to say, the night before. Again, if I have an early morning coffee date with somebody, then I'll put like not my whole outfit, but just understanding that I'll need to work my mornings differently. So yeah, that's it. I think that's really self-care about what you want to do, and to be intentional about it. I know some very busy people who like schedule in their self-care right in their agendas, and sometimes that sounds a little ridiculous. Like, how come you need to schedule time for yourself? But I think for many of us who are so used to having a schedule that is for others, it's definitely something that Almar, you said, like building a relationship with your body. But same thing, right? It's building a relationship with yourself, and you can't build a relationship without proper time, right? Without quality time and intentional time. So why don't we do that for ourselves as well?
That is true. That is true.
That
was beautiful.
Celebrate your body.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts about this, right? Because I think we've spoken a lot about our own individual habits, right? And how, as people, we need to be self-aware of what we can control, right? What our daily habits are, and having an element of controlling those things. What I'm interested to hear about is how much does your social circle and who you surround yourself with kind of affect your self-care habits and how you treat yourself. Any experience in that?
Yeah,
because I definitely have some thoughts, obviously, as well.
Yeah, it's totally that whole thing of like, show me your 5 friends, best friends, and I know who you are, kind of thing. There's definitely a thing about. So for me, when I started the challenge, we started doing it with my partner, right? She's been doing that too with me. So having someone who's also supportive in that, right, helps in that. There are days I'm people like, oh man, don't feel like going to the gym today, and she's like, oh, we're going to the gym today. Oh, the other way around. Like we're sort of like keeping each other accountable to that, and hence within that, the conversations within the home have also, we've actually started having more conversation about food, the food we're eating, healthy stuff, going to exercise. It's like those conversations now are more within our space than not, which means it helps us be also conscious about that and more intentional about it. So whether it would be different than if I was just trying to do it by myself, I'm like in my mind every now and again, every night thinking, okay, so tomorrow morning I'm thinking I'm going to do that, but I don't have that support structure around me. And plus, like for example, when we're at home or when we go out, there's an added element of someone else outside of me is thinking about the food we're going to be eating, whether it's going to be healthy or not, right? Whether there's been a time when I've been in the home and I'm trying to be on some kind of diet regimen or intermittent fasting, and my partner was not in the same space, so she just made me a beautiful sandwich. Babes, I made you a sandwich. I'm like, man, yeah, but it's got all this stuff that but when you're all in one accord, then it definitely helps. So definitely what you bring out, Eric, is the support structure around you for whatever goals that one has, even if it's for your morning routines, right? And I'll just finish that off with like the men's group that I'm part of, the Wolfart Way. In a lot of our Monday night calls, we do talk about morning routines and guys' routines, right? And it helps also just being like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah. For me, it's how can I say it? I've been part of that group for about 5 years, but it's only within the past 2 years that I've actually started having my own like morning routines and daily self-care routines and so on, because it wasn't a thing for me, but you hear people talk about it. So I would hear people talk about it in the group. I was like, yeah. But now that you hear it more and more again, and you see the effect and you hear the effects of how it's helping other people, like, okay, it's now within earshot, and the more you hear about it, it's like, okay, it's also getting to your subconscious. Let's try it. Let's feel it out, that kind of thing. So I would say, yeah, there's something there for the support structure around you in regards to those self-care habits. We still haven't had Alma's, by the
Yeah.
way.
I was hoping to slip by that one.
Uh-huh.
No, I have to acknowledge that there is a luxury of, I mean, there's a price for everything, right? But there is a luxury of being single without children. Just there is, and so I know that it's a very unique situation, and so therefore I might be a little bit more indulgent with self care because I can, and um, but like everyone has said, you can, or as Jean, carve out 20 minutes of time for yourself. Or Avril said, wake up extra early in the morning just to give yourself a little time.
Well,
No
Almar,
one
do
says,
tell, because I think like what you say there is really like everyone wants to talk about how are we going to carve out time as a parent, or when we have when we're married and like we're trying to like be thoughtful of somebody else and things like that. Can you expound on that a little bit with regards to how you feel? Yeah, like how does it affect your yeah? I think
Yeah,
that's
Alma, don't
important.
sleep. Tell us about that 4 a.m. run
Yeah.
that you were talking about. Before
Oh,
you all
okay.
came on,
I didn't even
right?
know
Me
about
and
this.
Alma was
Let's
just telling me
go.
about the 4 a.m. runs she goes and does in the morning.
no, look, everyone has their priorities, right? And sleep is really very important. And I think sleep's always been very important to me. And so the amount of hours I get, I mean, uh, I get a lot of slack from it from friends and family because, but because I will go to bed, I'll go home early because, like Eric has his wind down time. I need a couple hours to wind down as well. And then I know that my day starts very busy, with work, depending on what time zone I'm on. So whether it's children that need to wake up, or, the office across the world that is waking up, I need to be my best for that. And I know that my best means getting up early, getting in a good run, a shower, a meditation. There are things that I need to be my best self. So if that means I have to wake up at 4 in the morning and go to bed at 8 at night, then I will. And if it means I have to stop eating at 6 in the evening, I will. And I'm not strict. There's weekends exist for a reason. And I may not be able to be with you Monday to Friday, but Saturday I'll stay up late. Maybe I might have to take a nap to do it because of my internal clock. But I will, and I won't call them sacrifices, but they're compromises, right? And ideally, you're living in a home where other people also have the same values as you, or um, just acknowledge and respect that that's how you live your life and it works for you. There are night owls and there are larks, and one is not better than the other, so they say. But
But you have an opinion.
but I have anyway. So that being that, even I'll tell you, this is a nice. I love this. Something I implemented years ago, and everybody can do it. So I have a repeating calendar reminder, and I like to play and mix it up during the day and the times, and it pops up and it reminds me. It just says, what is the most loving thing you can do for yourself right now? And it gives me that moment to stop whatever it is I'm doing and do something loving for myself, whether that be get up and go for a walk, or get up and have a big glass of water, or whatever it is. And I have them scheduled throughout the day. And I think that's something that everybody can do, just what is the most loving thing that you can do for yourself right now?
Love that, Almar. I'm
Love
going
it.
to share mine with you. It's in the morning, pops in my telephone also. What can I do today that is going to make today a great day for me? It's a little bit like
Beautiful.
journaling, of course, but it's something that gets my mind in the right place. And as you said, it's simple for everyone. Most of the people we know have phones, right? We hope. At least to see our podcasts also, it's a good way of seeing it. But sometimes it's about being, as you said, Almar, and I want to emphasize that word, is compromise, because we sometimes compromise a lot with other people. And Eric, you were asking us about the people that we have surrounding us. We get a lot of compromise with others, but we don't compromise with ourselves. And I've heard of, and Jean, after you can talk about your experience as well, but I've heard of brilliant mothers that I know that have 3 kids and wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, just as you're saying, Almar, to go for the run, go for the walk, just to be in the better place to wake up their children. Because the mother that probably wakes up in a rush, it's going to wake up the children in a rush, and it's going to be a different day for them also. So it's also a matter of where do you want to be at for the ones you love.
Yeah.
In what place?
And I have to say that, it's so easy for us to say this, and you can have a working mother and say, oh, really, that's great. By the time I get home and I have to make dinner and then I have to clean and then, and then it's 11 o'clock at night. There's no way I'm going to wake up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning to get that. I get it. Absolutely. But that becomes a culture, right, in your home that you create. And it's hard at the beginning, but you can create a sleepy time culture for the whole family. And I know for some people, I also believe that family dinners are very important, especially since everybody is all over the place during the day, and it's the one time that you need to connect. But so I say this, pick the one thing in your life that is really important for you. And for some people, it could be the 8 p.m. dinner with the whole family, which means you're going to go to bed much later. So you don't wake up at 4 in the morning and 5 in the morning. That's fine. But you're doing that. And that is wellness in itself. That is self-care, And so just remember that it doesn't have to look like the magazines and the TV and the radio says it does. It's really unique for yourself. And it's just identifying what's very important to you, what's a non-negotiable, and sticking with it. It looks different for everybody.
It's beautiful. As we're about to start wrapping up, quick question. So our topic today is like self-compassion, building self-care habits. All right. We've kind of spoken a lot about the different self-care habits that we have. Now, how is all that self-compassion, or how do we incorporate what does self-compassion mean in regards to, what we've been talking about?
I would say self-compassion. It starts with. Sorry, Jean. Do you want to go?
No.
Cool. Yeah, I guess self-compassion. It comes back to exactly what Almar was talking about, right? With regards to having that awareness and understanding of your own situation. It can be really easy us talking about our self-care habits. Again, this has taken years. Probably a decade for me from the first time that I ever tried meditation to now. Coming, as Avril said as well, right? Within like the last 3 years, I would say probably for me within the last year, 2 years, where I've even come close to what I would call an early morning routine, right? So just know that it takes time and to be self-compassionate with yourself. So to be fair with yourself and to understand your own situation, right? And to Almar's point, if you can add just one thing for yourself, right? And it may not be one of those cliche things that everyone else is talking about. Like today, every Friday, I'll try and go to play soccer with my friends, with my coach friends, because that's something I'm giving back to my inner child that I know I absolutely love. It has nothing to do with self-care. It's not like, something that is cliche that is going to make me better, but it just makes me happy, right? And anything that makes you happy is something that you're giving back to yourself, and you're being self-compassionate.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was going to say, to me, self-compassion, for me, it boils down to prioritizing. So it's like self-prioritizing. When you see a lot of good causes in the world and people or organizations that require, your money and your efforts and your time, it's so hard to choose. So it's like where you focus is where your energy is going to go towards, right? Even if other things are great things, you can't do everything or you can't serve everyone. So I think for me over the years, and I love your point, Eric, it's true. It takes a long time to bring down, come to a routine that works for you at that particular stage of your life. And then it'll switch again, right? Before you know it. But I feel that, prioritizing yourself and not feeling guilty about it, right? We're in such a culture where we think that, oh, that's so self-centered or selfish. And, I think all throughout my motherhood, I always kept this one quote that my midwife said to me from like day one. And she always said, I know it's a Jamaican saying, like, if mama ain't happy, nobody happy, like in the house. But, and that's cute, but it actually is so true. Later, I read a lot of psychology books saying that the greatest gift a parent can give their child is your happiness. And why? Because then the children don't feel burdened to be your happiness for them, for yourself, right?
Love that.
So, I remember always feeling that if I don't even know what makes me happy or what I can do, that like play soccer with my friends, that I just am doing because, it makes me happy, how is anyone else going to know? Right? And then living in community or in a family or, whatever, your circle of friends that Eric mentioned, this whole, interchange of respecting other people's way of self-care or self-compassion, and then also extending grace, right? And then receiving grace. And I think it's this interchange, right? Because if I'm going to judge somebody's way of self-care, and I'm, I don't know why, but I'm thinking all of a sudden, like newlyweds or even as husband and wives, or spouses, where one person always wants to be included in everything, right? So let's say, Eric, you're like, I'm going to go out with my guys and, go play soccer, have a beer. And then, let's say your spouse at home is like, oh, but I need you here, right? They kind of cling on to you. And then it's like not understanding that this is your way of prioritizing your well-being, your happiness. It doesn't have to be so that you come back better as a better spouse. Like, it's just because, if they love you, they want you to be your best, right? Be the happiest. So this support of your self-compassion, self-care, you're right, it's so critical. But then I guess that the question is, if you don't get that, if you don't have understanding family members and spouses and circle of friends, well, what happens then? And then here we are back again, square one, right? We just said you have to advocate for yourself. It's up to you to be able to prioritize yourself, schedule with yourself, love yourself essentially enough that you're ready to serve, what it is that you need to be your best.
Awesome. Any final words, Alma, Sophia?
I love what Jean said.
I would have loved to hear you, Jean, say it in the Jamaican accent. Yeah. If the mother not happy, the picking them not happy too. Sure.
Thank you, Avril.
Yeah. The famous "put your mask on first," right? And then you can help everyone else.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a firm believer. I stand by everything you all said. I'm all for self-care. I think it's paramount. Yeah.
And you were saying, Jean, that society sometimes criticizes that, but we must be the ones to say why this is important. If we know why and if we understand the cause behind it, then let's change what society is saying, because people, as you were saying, we have seasons and we are facing a different season now for society also. And taking care of ourselves, so practicing the self-care, definitely it's going to make the world a better place if we start with us, right?
Awesome. Eric,
Right.
any final words?
I think
I like
just to
putting
round
I
it
like
up.
putting you on the spot.
I know you love it. You love it. I think to round it up, I think just as a person who's kind of gone on their own journey, and still working on that journey, I think it's so important to just take a moment and ask yourself the question, like, am I happy, right? Am I fulfilled? Because I think it's so easy to play the role, right, of the good husband or the good employee, the good father, right, the good friend, and to fit into this mold that everyone else has kind of put you into, right? Because somewhere along the way you lost control of your own life and you basically just decided to defer to everyone else, right? Because you felt that it was the right thing to do, that you were being stoic in some kind of way, right? And that's the second that you retake control of your own life, right? Where you can now be the writer of your own story and take control, man. Take control of what is sacred to you, right? And you can answer the question, am I happy truly? Because you'll know the difference between being happy, in inverted commas, where when somebody asks you, hey, how are you? Fine, right? Fine is always the answer that we give everyone, right? But really deep down, when someone asks you, how are you doing? And you're like, you know what? I'm amazing. Today I went on a walk just by myself, right? And I was so happy to just be outside, and just to experience nature. And you know what I mean? When you can have those types of conversations where you want to talk about how good your life is, the right people will listen, and you'll know that you're stepping in the right direction. Sure.
An interesting fact, Eric, about what you're saying is sometimes people think that to say, oh, I'm amazing, something amazing must be happening in your life. But it's all about the small things, as you said, like that brilliant walk with sun shining by the sea. It's something that a lot of people don't get in their mornings, for example. So appreciate the small thing.
And the power of words, right? Because you just gave that person the gift of hearing the word amazing versus fine.
Yeah.
You just impacted somebody else. So that's really beautiful.
It's contagious. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So thank you to our amazing coaches today, Alma, Sofia, Eric, Jean, and thank you for joining us on Life's a Coach. And we know you definitely got something today. And we just posed that question to you too, like what is your self-care habits? And are you showing yourself compassion in it? So just food for thought. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
All right,
See
guys.
you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life's a Coach, where our conversations aim to empower and support your personal growth. Until next time, remember that personal development is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that aligns with your true purpose. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life's a Coach.